Welcome to Women's Rugby Rundown 240 for March 30th through April 5th. This week is headlined by a group of 5 high-profile Olympians publicly slamming the IOC's new mandatory genetic testing policy as a violation of human dignity and a threat to the future of women's sports. In international play, Germany has officially been crowned the European Trophy champions. On the domestic front, the Isuzu Bulls Daisies secured a historic 4th consecutive title in South Africa's Women's Super League One, and the Tropical Sevens wrapped its largest event to date in the Americas. As the road to the Super Regionals narrows in the U.S., the international window prepares to burst open with the kickoff of the Pacific 4 Series and the Guinness Women's Six Nations. I'm Wendy, and before we dive into this week's news, I have to give a quick shout out to our partner keeping our website running at elite speeds, Cloudways by DigitalOcean. If you're managing a rugby site, a club page, or any project that needs to handle high-intensity traffic, you need a host that's fast and reliable as a world-class winger. Cloudways offers enterprise-grade security and blistering performance, ensuring your content is always live when the fans are watching. Right now, you can get a head start with an exclusive deal for the YSC community. Head over to Cloudways and use the promo code WRR at sign-up to get 30% off your first 2 bills. That is code WRR for 30% off. Stop worrying about your site and get back to the game. This is Women's Rugby Rundown, and we're kicking off now. We'll start with international sevens news, and we're starting off with the significant development regarding athletes' rights as 5 high-profile Olympians have publicly slammed the International Olympic Committee's decision to reintroduce mandatory genetic testing for women's athletes starting at the LA 2028 Games. Legends like Caster Semenya and Nikki Hiltz have labeled the move as shameful and invasive, arguing that it targets transgender women and those with differences of sex development while violating basic human dignity. Human rights advocates point out that the IOC is reintroducing a screening process that was actually scrapped decades ago because it was proven to be inaccurate, inconsistent, and led to devastating false positive for female competitors. By defining womanhood through a single genetic marker like the SRY gene, critics argue the IOC is ignoring complex biological realities and focusing on political pressure rather than actual systemic issues like equal pay and resources. This policy threatens to disproportionately harm women and could eventually trickle down to affect grassroots sports, creating an environment of surveillance rather than inclusion. The 2026 HSBC Sevens World Championship Series kicks off in Hong Kong next weekend as a battle for both the title and tour survival. The 12 teams are now locked as the top 8 core sides are joined by the 4 top qualifiers from Sevens 2. Over the next 3 events in Hong Kong, Valladolid, and Bordeaux, these sides will compete for the overall World Championship title. While New Zealand leads the standings and Australia remains their most consistent challenger, the USA have surged into 3rd place following back-to-back bronze medals. More importantly, the final standings will dictate which 8 teams secure their place on the main tour next year and which 4 are relegated back to the qualifying series. For the bottom-ranked Sevens 1 teams, the pressure is officially on as they fight to avoid being replaced by hungry newcomers looking to disrupt the status quo. Turning to the domestic side of the short game, the 2026 Tropical Sevens solidified its status as the largest tournament in the Americas and the 5th largest globally, hosting over 230 teams and 10,000 attendees. I was honored to be part of the Tropical Sevens live show, where we gave fans a behind-the-scenes look through deep dives and interviews with coaches, referees, and the athletes themselves. We even hosted as many champions on set as possible. International standouts made their mark over the weekend, with the Renegades from Australia, Canada's Trinity Western, and Lit Sevens from the United Kingdom all securing hardware. This one-of-a-kind broadcast captured the heart of the competition as these squads claimed their titles after 2 days of incredible action in Florida. Now we'll hop over to international 15s news. Germany has secured the European trophy title with an overwhelming 29-0 victory over Sweden. This win capped off a perfect campaign for the German squad, who finished at the top of the table with 2 wins from 2 matches and a total of 10 points. By shutting out the Swedes and holding off Finland earlier in the tournament, Germany successfully claimed the championship crown for the 2025 to 2026 cycle. The Welsh Rugby Union has confirmed that the EGM will move forward on April 13th, despite the district that originally called for it attempting to withdraw their motion. The Central Glamorgan Rugby Union initially pushed for the meeting to issue a vote of no confidence in top leadership, but they declared their voice had been heard following the announced resignations of WRU Chairman Richard Collier-Keywood and Malcolm Wall. However, the WRU stated that the proceeding is a legal requirement under company law and it cannot be canceled. The session at Principality Stadium will serve as an open forum for the WRU board to provide updates and for member clubs to address leadership directly regarding the future of the sport in Wales. The 2026 International Rugby window kicks off this weekend with a massive lineup of matches across 4 different competitions and several continents. First, the Guinness Women's Six Nations kicks off. France taking on Italy. England will defend the Utrecht Shield against Ireland, Wales, and Scotland. 2 matches in the European Championship. Portugal taking on Spain, Belgium taking on Netherlands, and then it's the Pacific 4 series, Canada versus Australia and USA versus New Zealand. Speaking of the United States, head coach Jack Hanratty has named a 32-player squad for the Pac-4, signaling a fresh start for the program with 10 uncapped players and a revamped coaching staff. The Eagles are looking to capitalize on home field advantage in the Pac-4 across Sacramento, Kansas City, and Chicago to settle some unfinished business from last year's disappointing World Cup campaign. Now in domestic and club news, we'll start in the Americas first. The road to the 2026 Super Regionals is narrowing as unions across the United States determine their championship matchups. Key battles are set for this weekend, including Colorado Springs against Utah in the Northern D2 bracket, and Phoenixville taking on Monmouth in the Atlantic D2 division. Other matchups feature Charlotte versus Atlanta 2.0 in the Gulf Coast, and Pasadena facing Los Angeles in the Pacific region. In D3, the Red River Cup will be decided between Dallas and Bay Area, while North Bay and York and Lancaster fight for the East Penn title. These finals over the next few weekends will ultimately decide which top clubs secure their spots in the 4 highly anticipated Super Regionals as the club season reaches peak intensity. In Europe, Premiership Women's Rugby is entering a transformative era as Gloucester Hartpury and Saracens continue to set the pace at the top of the table. The league has officially invited expressions of interest from ambitious programs across the UK and Ireland to join its future structure, aligning with the rapid growth of the women's game. This will be really interesting to watch. If any teams want to apply to the PWR, how will that change things? Will we see players that are playing in the PWR? Will they play for different teams, maybe a little bit closer to home, if any teams join? Really interesting period of time as we look forward to any changes in the PWR. France's AXA Elite 1 saw the top of the table tighten in round 14 as the league's heavyweights delivered statement wins. Stade Toulousain reclaimed their place at the summit with a lopsided 92-0 shutout of Toulon, while ASM Romagnac kept pace by overpowering Lyon 46-12 on the road. The most competitive clash of the weekend took place between Blagnac and Stade Bordelais, with Blagnac narrowly edging out the defending champions 18-17. Elsewhere, Montpellier secured a comfortable 33-14 win over Lille Metropole, and Grenoble earned a gritty 18-12 victory at home against Bobigny. These results leave Toulouse and Romagnac tied for first with 58 points each, making the final stretch of the French season an absolute must-watch. In South Africa, the Isuzu Bulls Daisies secured a historic 4th consecutive provincial title by defeating the Sunlumbulan Dames 36-15 in the 2026 Pick and Pay Women's Super League 1 final. The Daisies utilized their incredible depth to build a 19-3 lead by halftime. While Boulogne fought back with second-half scores, the Daisies proved superior as Shanique Alexander netted a double to seal the championship. That does it for us. As always, there's more news on our site at yscrugby.com. Never miss an episode of Women's Rugby Rundown by grabbing your podcast from anywhere you listen to podcasts from.